Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I'm a flight attendant for a major US airline. A few years ago, while at a very busy US airport, I was in line to get some food. My luggage is almost an extension of my hand when I'm working. I carry a shoulder bag and then have a large roll-on and a smaller tote that hooks to the large bag, so it extends a bit behind me. As I'm waiting, I feel the bag move. Afraid I'm in someone's way, I pull it closer and turn around to see a toddler laying on two bags. 3 times I told the parents they needed to move him. He could get hurt. They take him off briefly, but within a second or two, he's back. When I try to pull the bag away, he thinks it's a game. Parents just ignore me, giving them looks. The 3rd time I specifically said, "This is a busy airport, and if I move quickly for some reason, he's going to get hurt." A snarky reply from his mom was, "I know how to watch my kid." Once I reach the register, I place my order. As I finish, the airline scheduling calls me for a trip change. I need to quickly get to a place where I can take notes. Without even thinking about it, I rolled my bag back quickly, which meant that the kid who was apparently playing with my luggage tags, another lady informed me after, got pulled backwards and hit his head on the hard tile floor. Cue flip out from the kid and parents, yelling I was guilty of child abuse, demanding to see my work ID so they could report me to my company and so on, which I'm neither obligated nor willing to do. The airport police arrive just as my food is ready. One happens to be someone I see at the airport regularly. We have a 30-second conversation in which I explain and identify the lady who was already offered to be a witness on my behalf. I need to get to the gate for the new flight, so the cop says, "I know where to find you if I need you, but don't stress, get out of here and work your flight." As I thank him and start to walk away, the kid's parent attempts to run past the cop to stop me from leaving. And when the cop puts his hand on his shoulder, he shoves the cop with all of his strength and lunges. I find out after because this happens behind me. I feel just a brief tug on the strap of my shoulder bag and turn around to see the other airport cop slamming the parent to the ground. The parent pleaded out, so I never had to testify in court, but all this could have been avoided if they had watched their kid. This is my first time posting here. I've lurked a bit and remembered a story from last year that happened to me during the wrestling post-season. So when this happened, I was in 8th grade. I was 5'8" and 150 pounds. I did wrestling in 6th grade and went to a different sport in 7th grade, resulting in an injury that brought me back to wrestling. I was a decent wrestler, not good but not awful. My wrestling partner was an absolute jerk. He would complain when I did the move right, and when I tried to help him with something, he would not comply. My brother and I have had problems with this kid following us and calling us slurs and names with his other friends, who were also douchebags. One day I was carrying my instruments home like any other day. I was walking to my dad's. It's a violin and the case is a longer and boxier case. When this kid and his other jerks came running towards me and my younger brother, this is how the interaction went. "Kid, your barrel is hanging out," the douchebag said. "What the hell are you talking about?" I asked irritably. "Keep your AKs concealed, jerk." AK is a gun type, and keep in mind that this is during the time when there were a lot of school shootings. And the year before, we had trouble with bomb threats and shootings at the school. This ain't a gun, it's an instrument. "Oh yeah? You're probably keeping mags and ammo in your bag. See, they are pointing out." "Shut up, kid. You'll probably mistake a pencil for a Glock," he shouts across the street to the other crowd of people. "Hey, look out! This kid is a school shooter." His friend joins the taunting and harassment on the walk home, calling me a school shooter and more about not letting my kind in America. I'm a large mix of French, Native American, Irish, and Canadian, so I look like a mutt with tan skin, a large nose, and hair that gets redder when there is more sun for some reason. By this time, my brother had run off because he doesn't do well in social situations like this. These interactions happen a lot, and they even happened in the fall before the wrestling season even started. But this interaction crossed the line. The revenge. The plan. Remember how I mentioned I was a wrestler? He was my wrestling partner and talked a lot of smack, and I just don't want to deal with him. I plan to make him as embarrassed as possible, no matter what I had to do. The big state tournament was nearing. If I could make this kid learn, this would be the best way to do it there. He was in my weight class and was not that good of a wrestler, so I prepared for the possibility that I would wrestle him. Not using him as a partner, but using my friend Jay. He was confused at first, but I told him the plan and he was on board. I practiced with Jay. He was a couple of weight classes above me and I got better at wrestling in that period, preparing myself for the tournament. The day of the tournament, we got to the high school where this tournament was held. There was a few mats and brackets were being set up as we were warming up. We went into our normal routine and prepared for the usual big tournament spiel. I had checked the brackets and I saw that the douchebag had to lose a match in order for me to be able to wrestle him. He was against a really good kid and obviously lost. And I wrestled my match and lost in order for the plan to come into play. This is a double elimination tournament, so if you lose 2 matches, you are eliminated from the tournament. This was the first of 8 rounds, and he will be out of the tournament if he lost. Oh, and did I mention that the kid's parents and friends were there? Also putting me down with more slurs and school shooter nonsense. The match. Disclaimer: there is a lot of wrestling terminology and I will answer my questions in the comments. These were 1-1-1 matches, meaning that all of the periods were 1 minute long. In high school and college, the matches are 2-2-2, so only 3 minutes to deal with this kid. In the first period, we were neutral, and we didn't score any points on each other. That was our stronghold position, and I wasn't surprised. In the second period, he had the bottom position and I wasn't fast enough to break him down. So he got the 1 point from escape. We were back in neutral, so nothing else happened. In the third period, I was on the bottom, so I did a quick reversal, and now that he was on bottom, I got the 2. I rode him out and ended up cradling him for another 3 backs, making the score 5-1. I got him into a bull and chain and turned him for another 3 backs, 8-1 now. I won the match, and I saw his parents scream and throw the flowers they were holding on the floor because their son got dead last in the bracket. I guess they expected him to do well in a big tournament as a relatively new wrestler. He swore at me and kept screaming as I walked the bounce sheet to the front desk. Let's just say that he didn't call me a school shooter or a coward French boy again after that. I wonder what people will think about this when he comes up to the high school next year when I'm a sophomore. So, a little backstory. I'm a nerdy 25-year-old who loves to modify keyboards. I've modified a few of my own keyboards and ended up getting some good results. I then hang out at a friend's place who owns a keyboard shop and commissions and repairs keyboards. They also allow mods for their keyboards if they bring them there. I'm good friends with the owner and I usually hang out in his shop to learn how to build a keyboard, from testing out the PCB printed circuit board to soldering the switches. The story. So, I was at the shop just hanging around there and the employees and owner offered to teach me how to solder switches, which I'm bad at, and there I was just finishing soldering around 10 switches. I'm pretty thin and weak, so I get tired easily. I was out to take a break from practicing soldering the switches on the PCB, and there entered Karen. She had the haircut, the clothes and nails, everything that a typical Karen would look like. And she had the attitude and walk to even confirm that she was definitely a Karen. Even though I don't work for the keyboard shop, she started snapping her fingers at me and started to call me and grab my attention like a dog. I don't really work for the shop, but I headed up to Karen anyway and asked her for anything since the owner was actually in the bathroom taking a small break. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Karen brings out an old, dirty mechanical keyboard and says, "I want you to fix this. Can you do it?" Now, I may look like an adult and might be interested in working in that shop, but I'm still a college student, and I just didn't really work there, sadly. And I tried to explain to Karen that I wasn't really an employee there. "I'm sorry, but I don't really work here." "I know you work here. I've seen you do stuff here every time I pass this shop." Now, I hang around the shop a lot, mostly because the keyboards are really well made and I was just a keyboard enthusiast. And looking at the keyboard she handed me, it was a whole mess. It felt sticky, it had hairs between the switches and the plate. The switches were stuck when pressed, and the keycap legends faded. Dirt and dust were piled under the keycaps, and everything else was just a whole mess. To be quite honest, the keyboard looked more like it had been used for key smashing purposes than typing or gaming. I wasn't really interested in fixing someone's keyboard, and I didn't know how to even fix it, to be quite frank. I tried to explain to Karen that I wasn't really an employee of the shop and I'd go ask someone to get the keyboard, but of course, she wasn't having it. "If you don't fix this keyboard right this moment, I will have you fired. I know the owner here, and I'll make sure that happens." "But ma'am, I really don't." As I was about to say, I really don't work here, the owner arrived. He tried to ask what was happening and he was quite concerned that the situation was escalating. "What seems to be the problem?" "This employee of yours isn't doing his job. Fire this man." In my mind, I was like, "Really, lady? Or is she really serious about this?" And somewhere along those lines. Now, the owner is pretty calm and patient, but also has a way of dealing with entitled people. "Get me the manager. Here is my ID." She shoved the ID in my face and said, "I'll let you all know that I am the owner's wife, and I'll get you all fired." She shoved that ID in my face and turned it over to the owner. Now here is something I know that Karen didn't know. The owner is actually a widower. His wife died over a decade ago, but that's a different topic. He knew that what she was saying was utter nonsense, and me and the owner got tired. He then smiled and said, "Well, I'm happy to meet you. I am the owner and manager of the store." Now he smiled, but the smile was so sadistic. He has a scary smile, one that might scare cats and dogs. It's like he was a predator, a T-Rex or something. Karen went white. I think she just went from full entitlement to full on, "I just pissed my pants" scared, when she realized that she was talking to the owner. "Now, ma'am, I understand that you're upset with this man, but he's not a part of our staff. He's just someone who comes here and learns from us since he is here to learn what we do." I didn't know. Furthermore, you claim to be a wife of mine, but my real wife died over 10 years ago. Karen's jaw dropped. She now realizes that she screwed up and tries to apologize, but the owner has grown tired of these Karens and decided to take drastic measures. "Since you're not happy with me or this shop, then I would like you to leave this store and never come back. Ever." Music to my ears. I handed back her keyboard and stormed off. He picked up a phone and called a few numbers. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I hear the words "Ben" and "Karen." The next day, I was on my way to the shop only to find Karen from yesterday was actually banned and tried to force herself back, but only to get grabbed by employee staff while they dragged her out of the store. I work for a printing company, and as I tell a lot of people, much of my job is literally malicious compliance. People want things printed despite how they look, spelling and design errors, and just being plain ugly. This is another story that has come up these past 2 weeks. A while ago, one of the other locations absolutely destroyed one of their printers. Toner everywhere. The finisher unit was a hunk of plastic and metal. I genuinely don't know what they did to the machine. but it was faux bar based on a photo, especially since the toner cartridge is not in the finisher unit. An investigation took place and it was discovered that rather than calling in printer technicians to repair the machines, some of the company employees were repairing them instead. A company-wide message went out, essentially telling everyone not to repair or perform maintenance on the machine ourselves. Genuinely common sense things that had to be put on paper because someone did something stupid. We were always supposed to make service calls to the techs to come take care of the machines, or we would be brought to HR. 3 months later last week, 2 guys from loss prevention, who will be Tweedledum and Tweedledummer, came in to do a regular check-in. Everything was going great until I needed to change the paper in one of the printers. Tweedledum approached me and basically began racking me over the calls, saying that only technicians can open the machines. Of course, I am dumbfounded because all I'm doing is changing the paper, but I just shrug and say sorry, won't happen again. Well, the next day, I was brought into a meeting with HR over a video call, basically waving their finger at me. My boss, D, took the fall for me and said he was the one to tell me to change the paper. So I got off scot-free and D only got a slap on the wrist. Thankfully so, as this would have been my second write-up in 2 months. The first was a stupid but legitimate mistake on my part. However, as a result of this, the whole facility went into malicious compliance mode after that meeting. Need to change out the paper trays? Service call. Paper jam? Better put in a service call. Need to change the toner? That's a service call. Our output of jobs last week was absolutely in the toilet. Machines were down for nearly 90% of the shifts. The techs were having a field day, however, as they got paid per call they took. While our backlog through the roof, we were able to make our point eventually. I'm not sure exactly what had been happening in the background, but today I received a handwritten apology from Tweedledum and Tweedledummer with a $50 Visa gift card, saying they didn't understand what our job required when they reprimanded me and referred me to HR. We are back at full capacity now and have a huge backlog to catch up on. I'm hoping that in addition to this gift card, I can also get some approved overtime for some extra spending money on an upcoming trip I have planned. The company I work for may be dim at times, but at least they often admit when they make a mistake. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.